Our next speaker is very young to have been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she's coming up to tell her story.
I just wanted to say thank you to Libby and also to Lori and Sandy who invited me to speak today. It's a real honor. So before I start talking a little bit about my story, I just wanted to share this poem with you. It's called Allow by Dana Faulds. There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in, the wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart, or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. And I chose to share that poem with you for several reasons, but especially for the last couple of lines, which say, in the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. And I think, that's a good way to describe how it feels when you are diagnosed with something like pancreatic cancer. Your whole world gets turned upside down, and it's new, fresh eyes that you look at the world with. So, as Libby said, this is the first time that I'm talking about my experience, so I'm sorry, I'm pretty nervous right now, but just take a little breath. I was diagnosed last year in October 2013. And basically the symptoms were a lot of stomach troubles, which eventually escalated to being fully jaundiced. And so I'm fortunate that I work at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And so I work with healthcare providers. And a friend of mine just basically said to me, you have to call your doctor right away because your eyes are jaundiced. So that's what I did. And my GP then referred me to Princess Margaret Hospital. From there, I had a stent procedure done at St. Mike's, and we basically had to wait, or I had to basically wait for a month and a half before the jaundice was cleared. So if any of you have ever been jaundiced before, I don't really need to describe that to you, but it's horrible. But the stent obviously helps tremendously, and I was ready to go into chemo. I did 13 rounds of the FOLFIRINOX treatment. One of the doctors touched on that earlier today. And as of the end of May of this year, I've been on a chemo holiday, as they like to call it. So that's been really nice. I've been on a break from treatment. And I'm currently still on that break. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens in January of next year as to the next steps for treatment. I'm also currently not eligible for surgery yet, but I see a lot of hope, and especially in the talk from Dr. Keneally as well. So I look forward to talking to him at some point. So when I was asked to speak, I really had no idea what I could offer today other than my story. So I had coffee with Lori, and we talked about the importance of psychosocial supports, and especially all the support that I've been given this year. So this is a really basic graphic of all of the groups of supports that I've had. And so as you can see, we've got the medical model through Princess Margaret Hospital, then moving on to complementary therapies, self-care, and then this last one about family and friends, I think, is the most important one that I want to highlight because really without the support from my family and friends, I really don't know where I would be today, and I'm very grateful that my family's here with me today, and there really aren't enough words to say thanks to them. The last thing I just wanted to say about this is, especially with friends, it's really important if you're someone on the journey or if you're a family member or friend, that you are checking in with that patient because it makes a whole world of difference when there are a few people, even if it's not your family, checking in with you, because there is a lot of social isolation that happens with the disease or can happen. So then I like to call this my integrative recipe of supports. And so I've listed both the medical model supports and then complementary therapies. So I'm just going to quickly touch on a few of those. On the medical model side, I've written them in chronological order. So it shows you how I was referred from my GP then to Princess Margaret Hospital. And I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Malcolm Moore and his team. I don't think that Dr. Moore is here today, but I'm really indebted to him and the team. And then I was referred to the psychosocial team at Princess Margaret, and I see Dr. Peter Fitzgerald there, who then in turn referred me to a mindfulness-based meditation group. That was a 10-week group that I did. As well as I've had support from social workers, nutritionists, and also the Look Good, Feel Good workshop, which I highly recommend. Complementary therapies, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to highlight CCNM, the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. I feel really fortunate because my naturopath, Jillian Bevan, is here in the audience with a colleague of hers, and with her help and Dr. Jill Shanehouse at their cancer clinic, I'm receiving complementary therapies there. And you'll see all of the other therapies that I take part in and that have really helped me and that I enjoy. And so, like any recipe that you read or that you use, you can take pieces or ingredients from it, add a little bit more, or take things away, and then it becomes your own. So this is my model. It might not be yours, but it's just some good suggestions. I added this slide in here too, because just related to the supports and the things that I found helpful, I think these are some good questions to ponder. Because prior to October 2013, I was an extremely active person, sort of physically active person. And now, this past year, I've really had to scale down a lot of that activity. It's not that I can't do physical activity, it's just that it looks very different than what it did prior to October 2013. So, for example, I was biking every day to work from North Toronto down to McCollin College most days. Not every day of the year, but on good days. So that was about an hour and a half of activity that I was doing. In comparison, now this summer, I hopped on my bike maybe twice and was only able to go a couple of blocks within my neighborhood. So it's about, having to modify what you're doing. Again, it's not that you can't do the activity, but that along the journey, there's a lot of modifications that happen. So I like to ask myself what made me happy prior to the diagnosis, and then the second question in the star with what can you do now, no matter where you are in the journey. And then finally, just as a little piece of, it's really pixelated, sorry, a little piece of inspiration. This comes from a woman named Chris Carr, who, if you're not familiar with her work, I urge you to look her up, Google her, find her books, anything, see her on Facebook. And this is just an inspirational quote that she put up last week. And so it says, "You are not a project to be fixed, checked off, or accomplished. You are magnificent you, and that's enough." So I hope that helps somewhat.